And here we are, everyone. Welcome to Hollow Earth Discovered and for our beloved Q's call, which is every other Saturday. Pacific time, it's at 1 o'clock p.m. to 3. And then, of course, for the Eastern folks, it starts at 4. Just a little bit of a reminder. Okay, so today, of course, is February the 4th, 2023. And once again, we are so blessed to have the beloved Q Source being here with us. So with that being said, welcome, Q.
Beautiful, beautifulness to you, Jane. Thanks for doing this show. It's so amazing that the tenacity you have is just amazing. Thank you.
Well, I will have to say, Q, you've got everybody beat, I think, in terms of tenacity and what you're doing for our world. So we do love you, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's a privilege and an honor to these last several years have been just so amazing to learn so much. All of us are coming together nicely. It's just so fun to see us go through this process. What a reward for all of us to get our feedback underneath us. I'm very, very excited for our future.
You bet. Yes. And so thank you for all of that, because this is the end era. This is our time to make it the magnificent new earth that is in the forefront of our future. So thank you again, Q. All right. So go ahead. Shall we get started with your beautiful song and lyrics?
Thanks. I do my best to relate the capacities of desire we have from my interaction with everyone and what we're drawing. And here we go. I myself alone. And I realize I never need to use no one. When it comes down to my soul, freedom puts my faith in none of the above. There was a time I was so afraid of everything people around me said that I wanted to hide my face in the shadows. There was a time on a bed of nails. I was dreaming up a plan that could not fail, but no power under the sun could pull it together. Can't take this attitude. I got to show now. I've got to move on. God knows where I'm going to. It's a lonely, burning question. I myself alone, and I realize I never need to use no one. No money, no power, no holy roads. Freedom puts my faith in none of the above. If there's a time that we ever see the nature of life in reality, then I want to be there to kick at the answer. I am myself alone. I realize I never need to use no one. When it comes down to my soul, freedom puts my faith in none of the above. None of the above. And that was a redundant song by Duran Duran. None of the above. Hope that helped start it off.
That was absolutely perfect. Perfect. I can't say anything more. Thank you for that, Q. Okay. Well, this is your show. Before you begin, I was just wondering, I've had a couple of people, not more than a couple of people. Do you think that you might be able, which I'm sure you could, whether or not you'd want to, but we have some people that have probably a couple of questions. I know that for today, you will be speaking in greater understanding of what healing and ascension means. And but before we do that, I was wondering if you could ask if I could ask a couple of questions for you, and this is primarily for all of us that are in this reality that's really truly an illusion. So, so the first thing I wanted to ask is if you could just give us a real short summary of what you see presently in this outer world of illusion that you see, and anything like that would be really, I think, helpful for people at this time.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand. You're asking a question if you can ask that question? Is that the question?
That's
now,
the
which
question.
One is the question? Okay.
So the question is, could you give us a little info on the current events of our world and people?
And first, we have to ask permission if we can ask that question. Okay, very good. I understand. Okay, yes. That's me having fun. It's a beautiful question. First and foremost, I love absolutely every question because my great passion is collaboration, endless collaboration. Keep pulling on me. It is so fun for us all to connect. It is what is us absolutely sustainable. It never stops. Creation never stops. Thank you. Everyone who calls me and asks me questions, never stop. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now to your question. The theme today will marry perfectly with your question. Of course, this question is unscripted, and this is how a great example of how synchronicity works. Today's theme will be full of hope and not to have hope and hope, and have knowing, endless knowing of unbelievable success we've had in recognizing that our limitations, although we've had some help creating limitations, are really up to us to overcome. And it's absolutely exciting seeing it right on the edge. It's right and ready to fall. It is so ripe and ready to fall. It is so close. It's right underneath our nose. And here's what it is. Again, I'm going to do my best to give us some tools when we leave this call today to interact with our neighbors, friends, coworkers, and so forth, and see some sustainable activity, we might call it, or sustainable outcomes that we can enjoy that maybe are different than what we've struggled with in the past, possibly. The summary of this version of humans in its evolution, what it's learning, is that the creation of this version of humans does not have limitations. And it may have a couple tricks to it, but it does not have limitations. And we're all growing out of those limitations, for lack of a better definition, and recognizing that the reality that we're creating, gods and goddesses, as you've heard Zora and Zora say, you gods and goddesses are recognizing that you're not in a universe. You are the universe. You have created absolutely everything you see. You are absolutely magnificent, and there is no way to describe it in the English language, the vastness that each and every one of you is right now, will be, always has been. Does that make sense?
Well, that's perfect. Yes, we agree.
So what has occurred here that is so absolutely fantastic is, in the course of a very short amount of time, we are starting to see time continuums collapse, i.e., the construction of timelines that we do not prefer are falling apart because we are not choosing to jump on the reactionary choices, we are doing more choices proactively. People are showing up in our lives exactly on time, etc., etc. There are many, many people now playing with their imagination, their creativity, their inspiration, and they are getting it. It's showing up right on time. Don't you think?
That was also perfect. Absolutely.
I hope that answers your question. Please continue.
Well, I think I'm going to stop right there. I think, so, well, I know I don't think. And let's go ahead and it's your show. It's time.
This is a lot of pressure, Jane. I don't know.
I think you got this. We know you got this.
Well, it is thrilling to have a stage like this because everyone who will hear these words now and in the future, again, I consider you all peers, and just because I'm coming to you directly from Source, the light, the creation lightship, whichever you like, it doesn't make me different from you. It's just the way we have implemented a natural recalibration, reconfiguration through the Ascension cycle. So this is very normal. Some of you have participated in my role throughout the lifetimes, throughout the universe. Some of you don't. You prefer to be in a more vast creativity of our universe. So I just want to remind everybody that, again, take what you want from my words and remove the ones you don't want. It's really so vast the way we perceive the universe. It's no way to explain it anyway, not at least in the English language. We must use our knowledge center for that, and that's from our heart. The inspiration I have today is to remind you that, as Jane has started our show, maybe a few more words about creativity, where we're at in relationship to this version of humans on a very beautiful, beautiful plane of this planet. And I'd like to, if you're okay with it, Jane, I'd like to give maybe a better summation of why we feel like we're somewhere versus what we're actually doing, and that's creating someplace. Is that okay to start that way?
That's great.
All right. So throughout the last couple of weeks, several years, taking calls over and over, they're just so incredible to get to interact with so many incredible gods. And it's just amazing to see everyone's perspective and where they're at. You wouldn't know it until you actually do it, but everyone's so diverse in their expression of themselves. It's just so fun. It's so amazing. Yet one common theme, there's several common themes throughout the years that has been asked of me to do a better job of explaining, really just because I have the memories of prior to this Ascension cycle and earlier on other planets and this planet. And so I want to do my best to fill in some gaps that may be missing in our relationship to the multiverse, how we interact with it in this version of humans exclusively. So again, I'm going to give us some tools at the end of the show today so we can actually put them into play and have some fun with our development, creativity, et cetera, et cetera. This is the very, 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 very short version would be, at the risk of being redundant, this version of humans was genetically manipulated in order to get a silo. This is not an absolute statement, but if I was to generalize this version of humans was redesigned, genetically altered so that it could only receive a certain volume of light in it, and concurrently have a way, a genetic compartment to remove your memories. And a tremendous amount of words can go along with that statement. Yet, just for the ease of time and so forth, let's leave it there. And the memory part is important because for a couple of things. And I would not call it memory. I would call it capacity or capabilities. But again, it's nice to use the words we're comfortable with, because our capability and our capacity is profoundly unable to be explained in English language. So let's just call them memories for now. In our knowledge center, our memory center, whichever you like, there is a knowing. So when you're in other beings on other planets with higher capability, more knowledge and so forth, you already come into existence knowing what the universe is, where you are in some relationships, and or at least in a mammalin, at least in a human. And so a mammalin usually is not a standard, but usually I would favor to stay on that side of the definition of a mammalin. Is usually you have an understanding from initiation of life that you are creating the universe around you. And in this version of mammalins, you're the opposite. You have this really strong reinforcement that you are your identity, your being, and so forth. And there's a lot of great speakers out there to philosophize about what you are, I am. In any event, the last thing I want to be is a preacher for anyone. I want to make sure we get some tools that we can actually put into play. And so in any event, if you take your heart and examine when you make decisions from your heart, explode that by about a million times, that's what you're used to creating with. So as an example, all your dreams are real, daydream or otherwise, and you instantly can create the reality that you want to be in based on the massive capability that you have from source. Okay, so as an example, 2,000 years ago on Earth, if that's what you're calling it, that's a hint. The capability you had was 10 to 1 compared to now. So your knowledge center was vast, far. Your awareness of what you are was far more attainable, reachable from conception. So you had a volume of light in you, and that helped. Not to say there wasn't hindrances in that version of humans that restricted the volume of light you could have access to at any given time, but it was the hurdles were much easier, and there was a lot more help. And so again, at the end of the last ascension cycle before this one, the duality in the dark didn't really sneak in until arguably the last 200 years. And then, of course, got a leg up on this ascension cycle here at the last 200 years. So it should be pretty obvious to see when you look at the history books. The reason that's important for me is that nothing's left. It's still here. And so here, I'll give you an example, and you can check my words. And I encourage it all the time because I just love the collaboration. It's all positive for me. It's if my words mirror with how you perceive this identifier of our existence as a mammalin, which is not exclusive to how we exist. We are animals. We are elements. We are many things. Whenever we want, until this little sneaky exercise. In any event, boy, I hope I stop saying that one day. The version of mammalians this time isn't aware of what its capabilities are or its vastness. And here's the way you can check my words. If everyone's still here, and by the way, I'm noticing that I recognize everybody, and everybody's starting to recognize me because we were all here 2,000 years ago. Okay, so now if I'm correct on this, we had a lot less people for 2,000 years ago, but we had the same volume of light here, same volume of spirit in physicality. Okay, so this is really interesting information in that, okay, so if we have more people now, and there's many reasons for that, but we have the same amount of light, how does that work, Mr. Hotshot Q? If I have more or less the same volume of light, give or take, then how is it I have more people and or more, presumably more spirits? And here's your clue. The geneticists who created this version of humans recognized a very long time ago how to silo your Merkaba, whichever word you like, in a way that compartmentalizes it so you only have so much capability. All right, now hold me there. So let's just look at the mammalian, this version of humans. Now I could pick some favorites and I could give them a little more capability, which you might call the elite or the 1% or so forth, a different bloodline, different genetics, and so forth. And of course, you can get them to do your work for you. All right, so that's the easy one. We can see that pretty clearly. What I want to help with is that the opportunity for us to grow out of those hindrances is instant. It's very easy to do. That's why it's so difficult, because it takes a commitment to do things almost absolutely backwards in some cases. And I'm not endorsing blowing up your life, but I'll show you how this might look in a picture that's maybe easier to digest and translate. I sure do have a tough time translating the English language. So again, all the information I'm giving you comes in very vast. It's very vast when you use source to communicate, and the brain and the English language do a very, very good job of not allowing us to translate that information. I don't care how great of a linguistical expert you are. It's very difficult to communicate even the color blue in the English language compared to what you're observing as the color blue, as a goddess, if you will. So here's what I want us to point out, just so it'll be of help, and I'll get to a nice set of solutions for you towards the end here. But what if I could make a lower frequency being live at a higher frequency and put a higher frequency being in a lower frequency vessel and or being, in this case, the mammalian? So let's just look at the planet Earth as an example, and all the animals and all the living things. And I'll show you some real key opportunities here for us to see how duality doesn't affect the Earth directly. It only affects the Earth indirectly, and I'll explain why right now. We'll then get to it, Q. Okay, I'm going to get it to it. Okay, what are you going to do it? Yeah, I'm going to do it. Okay, so that's what we have. We have the mind, the monkey mind, the chatter. Well, water doesn't have that, does it? It doesn't have a mind per se, does it? It has memory. It's a living being. Air molecule, same thing. singing blade of grass? How about a tree? How about the animals in the forest, in the ocean? Wait a minute, Q. Whale has a brain. Ah, but a whale uses less of its brain for its decision-making process. It uses its heart. An elephant, same thing. It knows a lot, and it has a very good memory. It knows more than humans, I have no problem saying. An elephant has its ability to go through its heart to translate information to its brain. And that's why I do my best to use the word know. It knows things. Ask an elephant if it likes humans. Take it or leave them. Some are nice. Some have snacks for me, et cetera, et cetera. Why do wild boars attack humans? Well, they're familiar with getting attacked by humans, et cetera, et cetera. So this is not new information for many of you, of course, but I want you to relate to how that works in a higher frequency being is in a lower frequency mammalian. So now you have, we'll look at the mammalian interacting on a higher frequency plane and not necessarily, gross overstatement, not necessarily recognizing the delta, the difference between when you make a decision from the heart and when you make a decision from the mind and or obligations, commitments. I want to do this versus I have to do this versus I'm going to do this. Play with these words 1,000 different ways. But there's a tremendous difference when we work with source versus working with the mind. And surely this is old news with what ground we've covered so far. Yet putting it into play day in and day out with our past experiences and our past understandings and our memories is the tricky part. And so I want to give a quick verbal hug in that. I didn't say that this is easy to make new patterns, but it really is an easy activity for source because we created all of this. In any event, God, he's going to say it forever, isn't he? The difference between us when we are 100% equivalent to the volume of light that's in us allows us all of that transfer of capacity and awareness and so forth. And so here you have the opposite. So the dark, what I'm getting to here is the dark doesn't like, can't do it, will not do it, will not hang out with high frequency beings. As I mentioned, it doesn't try to abduct water. It doesn't try to abduct air. It doesn't try to abduct elephants, animals, grass, and so forth. It abducts you. It made you so you could be abducted. That's the primary purpose of the brain, is to be an abduction tool. And forgive me for going down the rabbit hole a bit here, as we will continue with a great vastness of our love and our natural light in these conversations here. But I feel inspired that if I have a little secret, and if I truly am from the past and the future and right now, I feel it's my obligation and my requirement, my inspiration to be the canary in the coal mine. Because I do know what it's like to be a different human on a different planet and a different frequency. And I come from outside of this frequency concurrently. So I'm doing my best to summarize our version of humans and how we're growing out of it in the Ascension cycle. So in a nutshell, we are now making decisions from an inspired point of view more and more. And the dark is having a hard time keeping up with us. Very hard time. Because we're starting to recognize it. We're starting to smell something's off here. Because we're getting more of our abilities. Because of the frequency in which your planet is evolving and or getting ready for recalibration, reconfiguration. Many events occur concurrently. In your solar system, your makeup, everything changes, everything resets, and so that's really tough for the dark because they don't have a lot of time left, and they know it. In is no way I'm going to say in any event again, so we're not going to do that. But what I love about this conversation is, with myself apparently, is the awesomeness that we have upon us right now is our next choice. And because we've changed so much now, we've evolved so much, and I put a number about 2011, 2012, even though we had a lot of attention on us right in there, you cannot stop what's occurring to us. And it's all up to us, and these are our choices. And I hope that is a good start to explaining the vastness that we are in our relationship with our planet. Jane, what do you say?
Well, I think for myself and everybody else, I think it's really wonderful that you can explain it as easily as you did, and for us to be able to receive, that information, and it aligns, I'm sure, with everyone's heart as far as our moving forward, going with the heart versus, working with the mind all the time. And I think a lot of people do actually feel that now. So, and we see that transpiring as well in the world, even with the changes that are really physically happening. So talking about a reset and et cetera, we even see that politically as well as economically and in many other ways. And the dark has lost as far as we're concerned on that scene that we're looking at. But then when we look at it in terms of ourselves, we align with all of the beautiful changes that are being made, even though it's still, rather a struggle sometimes, because you still see that at your face at this particular time, because people are still not quite there yet. So they're not able to move from where they were to here now, except for maybe the people that are listening to you, to Zora, and other great other teachers that are out there in the world. So we thank you for this.
Yeah. So a couple of messages I will be giving you today throughout. And again, most of the information I'm giving you is coming to you outside of these words. So just feel the information, and you'll get a lot more of your capacities, your capabilities. This is how it works. So we're light beings. We share our light, and it doesn't matter if you're at a 10 and I'm at a 5. I get some of yours, and we all grow together. There's no way around it. One of our favorite beings to be, believe it or not, is a drop of water, being a collective of water. It's one of the most nurturing, fabulous things to be in the universe is water. It gets to do everything. It gets to be everywhere. It gets to touch everything. It gets to feel everything. Water is absolutely the most magnificent, arguably the most magnificent byproduct of source outside of source itself. In one point of view, there's several individuals, including Zora, that want me to reaffirm, remind everybody the incredible vastness of the universe that you are. The incredibleness that you are is just fantastic. It's undescribable that you can go create a universe, and every breath you speak, see, feel, there's no way to explain the vastness of you. And several individuals within the councils that want to help us. They don't necessarily like titles, but you've given them a lot of titles here. They want to help you, and they want to support you, and they consider you peers as well. And they are outside your realm most times, And the way they get in here to help you and support you is through us. You have to walk in these shoes if you're going to walk in these shoes, because our capacities are so much grander when we're outside of these vessels. There is a mutual respect and appreciation for creativity. Creativity is creativity, period. The experience and expression of what you want to do is up to you. Now, a little bit different story here now, isn't it? Several of these councils that want to help you, that are communicating with several people here, they want to remind you that many of the questions they're receiving from you and you are asking is, why don't they come and help us? Remember, you're the one creating this universe, and you're not in a universe. You are creating this universe right before your eyes. So I ask you, the people begging for assistance from the councils of 5, 9, 12, and so forth, how would they get here if you created this? How would they get here if this is your frequency band? They can get here when you choose to be at a different frequency, at their frequency, and so forth. It's quite amazing. That proves in itself how different you are from higher dimensional beings living in a semi and or physical vessel with more capacity. Here's an example. Many of us have seen what we're calling Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Yetis and so forth. But that's a high frequency being that doesn't live in our frequency band consistently. It comes and goes, and that's why you can't find it, because obviously it changes frequency, changes dimensions. You're a multidimensional being just like Bigfoot is. But you can't interact with it because you're not at the same frequency band. I think James Gillian's probably done the best at explaining his experience there. I owe that group special thanks. Many years ago, one of them found my last implant, so I always want to make sure everybody knows about Ascension there. They were a great help to me, and they understand the relationship and how I come here from a light ship. It's very normal for them. They understand how this works. And so I encourage all of us have these memories, and we'll all get them back. Anyway, I want to make sure everyone's aware that a lot of folks outside this realm really want to help. Yet it is up to us. We are their peers. They are our peers. We have to reach them. We have to reach them in a proportionate way. I did say halfway. I said in a proportionate way where we recognize that we are gods and unbelievable creators if we would just use our highest absolute excitement to make our decisions day in and day out, and the fabric of your universe will change. And I have many examples over the several weeks to explain that. Is that okay, Jane? Do you have any questions?
Sure. Even that last statement, Q, maybe you could talk a little bit about the fabric.
Yeah, let's see. Well, boy, I loaded that one up. I better come up with something good here, huh? Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know who the gentleman is, but there's somebody that's talking to us pretty regularly. He comes up to the light ship, and he says, "You are the funniest family I've ever had." I don't know who this is, but it's a young gentleman who speaks somewhere down here, and we have so much fun with this guy. And I don't know his name down here. I'll have to look it up and get on it. But we enjoy a lot of humor in this process, even though some might say there's nothing to be laughing about here, Cube. The first thing to laugh about is our relationship to time. And so 2,000 years for me was like 2 weeks ago. It's nothing compared to our relationship to time and memory. And so that's why the cutting and pasting of time here is so successful, is because we have no bearing of the vastness of how long we've been in the universe. As an example, many people call me and say, "Could you tell me where my home planet is?" And I say, What for? I mean, you've had so many lives. Why would that? And it's frankly because everybody's homesick, but they're not. They don't necessarily know why they're homesick. Some people love it here and could care less where their home planet is, but uh, we seem to have, at least the folks calling into me, have this innate feeling that I'm homesick. I belong somewhere else. And so it is true that we are recognizing that we miss the ascension cycle, and we're not supposed to sit here for lifetime after lifetime reliving these karmic, repetitive, epigenetic controlled, mind controlled lives over and over again. History repeats itself because it's engineered in us, as you've heard me say. That's what's going on. All your wars are the same as 4,000 years ago. All your script is the same. Nothing's changed, everyone. You just have a fancier tablet. And by the way, Jane, I thought I told you to get off the computers. Here we are again. What's going on?
Well, that is part of the game that we have to play at this time.
How many shows do we have? How many more shows are we going to do? We pretty much have this licked, don't we?
As many as we like, as many as you like. Pardon me.
All right. It's very fun. Anyway, I want to be of help to many individuals. Want me to give you a message in that, hey, we want to help, yet it's very difficult to get to that frequency and not make ourselves extremely sick. So our emotional bandwidth is so dangerous to many of these beings. Our baggage from the past, the way we process information, all helps hinder us from going to the higher frequencies because we keep living in the past. So that's their great encouragement, and mine as well, is the more you sustain the past, the more you create the past in your future, as I'm sure we're all tired of hearing me say. So when I worry about something, as an example, that's something from the past. When I have pain based on something I experienced in the past and sustain it, that's living in the past, of course. And so on and on we go. They don't understand, and that's why they give me a lot of bandwidth. I'll remind everybody, the Galactic Federation did remove me 2,000 years ago for this exact conversation. And my statement will always be, slower is faster. And here is the primary tool that will help us, and that is, are we creating the decision, or are we reacting to responsibilities that we created in the past? Wait a minute, Q, you said the same thing. No, I didn't. Let's really look at this. Do I have to go do something, or do I want to go do something? Or can I tolerate doing it because I'm doing a really nice gesture, so I'll do it because I really like doing it? Okay, so those timelines, what I'm seeing with everybody, are starting to change, and I'll give you another example. What happens in your life in this scenario? Let's do something really simple, and I'll show you how the dark like to hijack our timelines and create our timelines. Let's see if we can pick something really simple here. I was really excited to go have a cup of coffee with a friend, and so I was going to go meet him at the coffee stand, and can't wait to do it. I haven't seen him in years. We're going to go have coffee, and on the way to the coffee stand, he got in a car accident about 15, 20 minutes away from the coffee stand, and I say immediately, I'm going to come and help you. I love you, man. I'll be there in a minute to help you with your car accident. We'll get you a ride, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So when we look at life's example here, now I have a choice to make. Do I want to go and help my friend from my heart or from my mind? From an obligation or is it from creativity? Or is it spontaneous where we don't have to, let's say, examine every single breath of air we breathe in and so forth, but really start looking at those decisions you make and slow them down, really throttle back. So as this example, do I have to immediately get to the car accident, throw the coffee up in the air from the coffee stand, kick everyone out of the way, jump in that car, mow down everybody to get to my buddy who's got in the car? So using this as an example, what if I just watched myself and said, hey, Jim got in a car accident. I hung up the phone. Okay, so now what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? God, I love Jim, though, and I got to go and help Jim. Do I have to help Jim? What happens if I don't help Jim? Okay, so Jim got in a car accident. Really love Jim, but I don't really feel like driving in traffic 20 minutes across town. Am I a really nice guy? Would help my buddy Jim? Yeah. But what if I didn't help Jim? What if Jim figured it out on his own? And or this is how the dark capture the light in timelines. So you were now taken out of your happy cup of coffee because maybe another timeline was created with Jim because Jim didn't want to go have a cup of coffee with you. He felt obligated because he hasn't talked to you in 2 years. What if that was the case? Because that's exactly what's happening here. Many of us are participating in timelines that are not ours because we're not brutally honest with our heart decision-making process versus our mind decision-making process, which is exactly the definition of ascension. Ascension is about using source as your primary decision-making process. Do you feel, Jane, that made sense?
Yes.
So now we can start looking.
Good.
Now we can start looking at all of our life's choices. If we just slow them down, we like to be productive. Don't get me wrong. Jane can make 1 million batches of cookies right now if you just snap your fingers. She can't. She will do it too. She's the most loving being ever, and I have a freezer full of cookies to prove it. I put them in the fridge. I put them on the deck. I put them everywhere I can. I have a trail of cookies in which I can eat. It's beautiful. Everywhere I go, I have a cookie. So now, Jane loves making cookies, as in that example. Might be some times when Jane doesn't like making cookies, right? Either way, notice that timeline that she created when she makes cookies now comes over to me, and I receive the cookies, and I receive her inspiration, which is in the form of a cookie. And now I eat that inspiration, and now I'm inspired because I ate inspiration. And so that is my segue into food as well. Notice that when we do things that are inspirational, when we eat things, consume things that are inspirational, we get more light. Pretty cool, huh? It's all made perfectly. And we have a roadmap. And that roadmap is, yes, in this type of human, a little tricky sometimes to feel when you're in the midst of it. But it's there, I assure you. You think that helped, Jane?
Thank you, Q. I will have to agree that I make cookies, because I love, the people, my family. We love you, and other people as well. So I like to be able to bring some happiness to others as well, because that also brings me happiness when I can do something that might be beneficial for others. I think that's pretty good. I think we all do that. We come to do calls with you so that we can be inspired, and then it helps us to become inspired as well when they receive some of your inspiration and understanding, and we go forward from there. So it is, I think, one of the things you've just really said is that to really slow down, especially when one is in the midst of a tragedy, is to really pull back and just kind of watch others in terms of how they react. And then what do you want to do in terms of how you're going to, either do what you feel coming from your heart that is best for you. And obviously, if it's best for you, you know that, consequently, it's probably going to be best for everybody else who is already in that field of anxiety or worry or stress. Look back, slow down. I agree completely with you. We agree with you.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Of course. Of course. We're like crystals. And of course, that is how universes are created. Of course, we're like crystals. We break easy, and I'm a poor man if you leave me. I will never have anything without you. And vice versa. We're like crystals. It's not easy when your love could feed me. It could feed the world. Every man, every woman, everything needs our love for each other. It is contagious, of course. And it is such an honor to get to do this. And I thank everybody who rejoices with me and calls me. And I thank you, Jane, for doing this show. And so with that, somehow I got to fill another hour. I just described creativity. I think we're done. This is probably our last show. No, that's not true at all. What's really exciting is I'd like to share, if you're okay with that, Jane. We've done a lot of calls now over the years, and there are a tremendous amount of breakthroughs people are having. And I want to relate that to much of the Ascension symptoms a lot of us are going through, and physicality and spirituality. They're two for me. I'd like to segregate them a little bit, but I think it'd be fun for people to learn what some of the successes people are experiencing and talk about that, if that's okay, Jane.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Q.
Yeah, so the one tool we were all passionate about coming here was to give you something you can actually hang your hat on instead of saying, hey, be enlightened. Yeah, and hurry up. Read this book and you'll get it done. And so we recognize that organized religion in the past was going to destroy our momentum from certainly the Buddhist times. We're very successful. You'll notice that most of your world still understands those ancient philosophies that aren't ancient at all, but I'll make a comment on that. I get calls all over the world, and I, of course, have made enemies with the Chinese culture now, but from last show, my great love to all humanity. We have noticed that the calls that are not coming in are predominantly from cultures that still understand the legacy of going within through their Buddhist teachings. Yeah, sure, these books are probably got way too many words and so forth from a very long time ago, but it's still the same model, and that is when you go in with your heart. So if you look at, if you go into many sections of India and many other places, this is common knowledge. They don't need to talk to me. Yeah, that's exactly what we are, where we are, how we are. We know how it is. And so they don't get a lot out of my conversations. I find that very interesting. It's predominantly the Western modernized world. And there's no way I would segregate any geography because we're all unique in our own development and creativity. And there's just no way to judge anybody's creativity or anybody's existence. Yet it's very fun to talk about that, to prove that it actually works. And now you can put it to the test today, each and every day. Here is some of the information that is enjoyed tremendously. And most people who verbally talk to Source and or their spirit are getting exchanges that are not expected because you can't actually define source. You can't define the volume of light, which way it's going to come into you, how it's going to come into you, where it's going to affect you, because it is so vast, nimble, expansive. A dear one even calls his business expansions for a reason. And so you're seeing that the capability we have is endless. The only limitations we have is the belief that we're a human and it needs stair steps to get up to the second floor. It doesn't. And so it's a great honor and privilege to get to work with people who are having these breakthroughs just from verbally out loud commanding their spirit to help and support them. That's it. Absolutely. That's all they're doing. They're doing it verbally. They do it once a day. They may do it once a week. And here are some of the things that are occurring. So I have several people with healing issues, and they were told they have, of course, from a white jacket, 45 minutes to live and so forth. And it's usually they're calling on behalf of a family member. Well, I have several people who have healed broken bones overnight, helping another individual. So they're not a healer. They don't even like my show. They don't even care about the woo-woo club, spirituality, your chakras, meditate. They can care less. But they heard that I was educating on people on how to do healing work. And so they go, fine, we'll try it. The Crazy Club on BBS Radio, we'll go hang out with them for a minute. Okay. So what they've done is started implementing healing on, let's say, a senior member of their family, and it's working. So I do look forward to doing some workshops with people who want to get more healing. Ron Amatron, you know him as here, but he is the light being that's in me to help you with healing, and we're very successful with it. I.e., you are very successful with it by just transferring light through commanding your spirit, commanding your connectivity with another being, and you can join and anneal each other's ailment because you're not focusing on the symptoms, you're focusing on the root cause. Analysis of all healing has to come from the spirit. No way around it. Yes, if I have my arm cut off today, I'm going straight to surgery. Yet, you'll see that everything heals from the generator called spirit. You have to have a spirit to be alive, as an example. Anyway, let's keep going here. The successes I'm watching with the healing is fabulous. And I would encourage everybody to help me get organized on transferring this information to others, because I get a little lackadaisical. I expect all of us to remember this, because again, you're all peers of mine, and so I do get forgetful in that. Maybe I should do a little more teaching on this. Certainly, the shows should help a little bit too. But when I look at the people who are paralyzed, who have, I will keep people's privacy intact here, but when I look at people who are going from A to Z, from paralysis, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, cancer, I feel we need to really pay attention and adopt that, much like the legacy teachings we've had here with the Ayurvedics and or many individuals who are teaching primary root cause analysis with ailments, and that's from the spirit. But long-winded for many of us are seeing with healing, as an example, the time continuums of how you can change your relationship with your reality with time as a component of healing. And the reason it works that way is because the type of human you're in, it regenerates its cells over and over and over again. And you get to choose how you want to regenerate your cells. So you've had some great doctors on and so forth over the years, Shane. You can assume that every day you're a completely different person depending on your environment, because every cell of your body rebuilt itself again. Okay, so I won't get too hung up on time. I'm just going to keep it one day at a time. Let's just say one day. There are many people who can do it faster, as many people that can do it slower. This is also proof in the programs and the technology here. You can thank the aliens for giving that to some special people in the industrial military complex. That's how you can prove that they can cut and paste time and regenerate you. So as long as I have a match for your Merkaba, I can make a new you tomorrow. No problem. I can make 1,000 of you, and I can get a portion of your light in you. Pretty interesting, isn't it? 1,000's probably a stretch, but why not exaggerate when you're all that is? All that will ever be. So when you start looking at our ability to regenerate over and over again, and it needs a spirit to do it, soul, whatever you like, it gets a little easier to see the changes that we're implementing day in and day out in relationship to time, because we only see the time in which our eyes are open, so we perceive and or we're not aware of the vastness of ourselves coming and going into the physical body. Okay, so when we command, so make sure I'm on point here with the lessons learned so far. Once you recognize that you're only right now, that's what creates the healing I'm seeing in all these people. So once they make the jump that they're only right now, and everything I've said so far is gone, that's when these incredible advances are happening from people commanding their spirit to increase their life force energy. Example, they're able to stop time. It's very important we all recognize that. You're able to change time and stop time. And the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are coming to me are sharing their experience. Now, we talked a little bit about healing, but that first and foremost, once you recognize that you're just right now, that's when the healing is occurring tremendously efficiently with all of these individuals coming to me, and or they probably don't need to call me anymore because they're putting it together. Now, the other events that are occurring repetitively over the course of years, and certainly for the last couple months of calls, is people are seeing the dark cutting and pasting in time. And so I gave you examples of how they do the abduction process and how to catch them, just to qualify my information, if you will. Take a mechanical stopwatch, set it at 10 minutes, and you can see the timelines being cutting and pasting if you're around a lot of people and so forth. So I feel I've talked enough about that. But anyway, we have a lot of people coming to us now who are commanding their spirit to increase their life force energy maybe once a week or once a day. And what they've done is they've made a transition because they've watched themselves stop thinking and observe when thought comes back in, and they can prove that their thoughts are not generated by them. And so that's the biggest change that has happened since the feedback has started this last year or so, is they're now proving to themselves that they are controlling their dimension, their frequency in real time, just by using the muscle of the heart. So I'll do my best to break this down a little bit better. When we take our thoughts from our head and put them in our heart, that creates a pattern recognition, just like a muscle, learning how to throw a ball left hand instead of right. It just gets easier and easier and easier, and pretty soon you're doing it without even knowing it. And so it's all up to you whether you want to play with it and participate. And what occurs now with many of these individuals is their life becomes really slow, yet all of the things they want to show up in their life get really fast. Quite interesting, isn't it? So I have one person, here's a minor example some of you are going through, and it's happened throughout your life. Now you can do it more consistently. This happens to Billy, Jane, and I quite regularly. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to talk to Billy. God, she's so fun. I'm going to call her in a couple hours. Maybe I'll call her now. I was going to call her in a couple hours. And then I go to pick up the phone, and Billy is calling me. Okay, so I literally pick up the phone, and it doesn't ring. Everybody's had that happen to us. Okay, so my inspiration, because I'm not using the brain, it was an obligation to call Billy. It was an excitement to call Billy. And Billy got that inspiration. She wanted to call me too. And we may not have been locked in our universe when we were going to call, but we both wanted to call each other. And so then it occurs. Well, all the people calling me that are having breakthroughs have the exact same story, but unbelievably bodacious experiences. One person says, you know what? I just threw in the towel. I was negative $500 in my bank account, and I just hated my job. And I just said, screw it. I'm going to see if this stuff works. This crazy Q guy's talking about. And I am going to go sit on the couch because I don't know what to do. I'm confused. By the way, confusion is one of my favorite emotions. And the reason it's one of my favorite is it's proof that your spirit is helping you overcome and or sort the mind energy. So it's not that we don't want to use our mind. It's we want to use the mind for translation. That's it. That's all the mind was intended to be, as a translator. Yeah, well, I need to know where my keys are in the saw and so forth. But certainly this is an overzealous brain in its way in which it tells us what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, and why we're going to do it. And by the way, you need to lose about 10 pounds. Okay, great. We know that, Q. You've been saying that. Now, these people who are coming to me, they don't have any of that. They only have, what am I excited to do? Anyway, the lady that wanted to sit on the couch for a week because she was confused, one day she gets a call from her sister saying, hey, I don't know what we haven't talked in a while. I don't know what you're up to, but remember how you used to like making purses? There's this guy who says, I'm going to make a wardrobe company. And his sister had one of your purses and said, can she make that again? Do you still like making purses? She goes, yeah, I love it, but I never have enough money or resources. I'd love to start a company. And of course, a corporation unfolds and purses are created. And that is a true story. And away they go. Because they jumped off the train of I've got to pay my bills, and so I've got to go to work, and I've got to go do this, or else that's going to happen. I know that's going to happen because I told myself it's going to happen. And last time my neighbor did it, they had their house repossessed. So I don't want to do that because that's stuff that's really going to happen because the past told me that it's going to happen. Anyway, these stories are multiplying over and over and over again. And certainly in some respects, they fall off the train and get back on the burden train and so forth. But for the most part, everyone's having breakthroughs and can now see the delineation between when they don't make decisions like that and when they do. And it's getting faster and faster and faster, i.e., the slower you go, the faster it gets. So the past is the clue. It is the one thing I can hang my hat on in these conversations, is the more we participate in things we don't prefer, the more we get it in our future. And that is the way the dark manufactures, constructs timelines that are reactive and not proactive from our heart. Does that make sense, Jane?
Indeed. That's great.
I wonder what indeed means.
You better ask Zora.
Indeed. There's so many words like, so it's deed. So is there a deed somewhere for me to be in? Or, we can go on, we can make fun of the English language.
That's true.
English language forever is, anyway. What are some other examples? I have so many. When you observe people, you talk to a lot of people, Jane, you all are helping a lot of people. What are some other examples you feel would be beneficial for people to hear today as a specific topic, whether it's healing or working with your goals, your objectives? What do you feel people would really like to hear? What changes? Because I have so many. Do you have a suggestion?
Well, one of the key things that I'm continuing to hear is that people are waiting, are waiting for things to happen positively, and another is, I'm having difficulty, reaching a higher frequency. But if they continue doing just what you have just already mentioned, the more they do that. And if you do it, not because you should do it, but it's because you're inspired to do that. And the more you do something, whether it's healing or whatever it is, you become stronger in that area anyways. And the more you really feel from your heart versus the head is out of the way. So out of the way in terms, let's talk a little bit more about healing self. So we understand the commands. So almost everyone now that do your commands, they can really feel it, and they feel great. Oh, it really works. And we're talking about people that are healers, right? So for those that have not gotten to that point yet, what would you say to them?
Yeah. So. That is beautifully put, Jane, and consistent with the many calls I get too, that I cherish. Is if you look at the you look at the depth of your question, it's actually much broader than that. For me, is you can now see that it originates from the past. Mm-hmm. People are waiting for something, doubt. I'm not sure. What am I going to do if I don't? Et cetera. All of it is consistent with what we've talked about already today. Is what am I waiting for? Once I get there, this is one of my great passions. Is to, with many of these groups around the world in their relationship with means of exchange coming soon, as you're most likely aware, you're watching the collapse of your monetary system. It's already been collapsed. You just keep using the currencies and means of exchange that you've adopted over the last 100 years and so forth. But it's quite obvious that you have a choice now. You can sit on your stool and say, as soon as that gets here, I'm going to do something. First of all, passion and excitement and joy and inspiration doesn't come from anything outside yourself. And that's why I have so much fun reviewing projects people want to do, such lovely ideas, so many beautiful ideas. Yet in this type of frequency and dimension, because we have less energetics here, this is not an absolute, because we have less capability in this type of godliness, you actually have to, it's not an absolute statement either, you must implement a intrinsic activity just because of the frequency band you're in. That's what's so amazing about being here, by the way, is that everything is dense. It's quite an experience to be in this dense and still have so much abilities. It's quite fascinating. We could talk about that forever. Many will argue that, of course, in their current situation. But keep me on track here, Jane.
So how do we go back again to, we have to have something in terms that is intrinsic so that we can move forward.
Yeah. And so someone asked me their opinion on their project the other day, and I said, who cares? And it came off incorrectly, of course. Well, I care about how you feel about it. I go, see, if you're living your passion, your purpose, you don't care what anybody thinks because you can't stop yourself from doing it. So intrinsically, if you love building homes for the homeless, you're already doing it in most cases because you don't have doubt or fear. You're out there banging nails right now, and you don't have a care in the world for means of exchange. So if you love to bake cookies, you go bake cookies, but I only have $4. Okay, well, then you make $4 worth of cookies, and guess what? Someone shows up with $10, and you make $10 a cookie, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
Close to an explanation and understanding. So intrinsically, here, the reason it's different than just dreaming it up is because we did get a bus ticket to a lower frequency, and we're in a vessel that has lower frequency capabilities, again, in a higher frequency realm. So we don't marry, this is not an absolute, but we don't marry very well. If we were going to standardize this version of humans, it's not true for everyone. If we were to standardize this version of humans, it's a denser vessel than the frequency that we're in, thus requiring an intrinsic action for us actually to see the manifestation. That word is absolutely incorrect and incomplete, but it's the one we have. Manifestation should be much broader term. We're actually able to create very quickly, very instantly. But because of the vessel we're in, it does a very good job of limiting us initially, yet we can grow out of it very quickly by utilizing source over and over again. I want to remind everybody that in 2,000 years, there hasn't been that many generations here. Never forget this. This will help you with time and how short time really is in relationship to 2,000 years. If we have roughly 3 generations of lineage every 100 years, so we've talked about this chain, great-grandmother, grandmother, and myself are 3 generations all born within a 100-year span. Well, that's really only, let's say, 30 generations if we can remember anything. Still waiting for that. We seem to get wiped more and more every generation, but in 1,000 years, that's only 30 generations in one bloodline. Now, what's more interesting is you used to live a lot longer. Nobody wants to tell you that, of course. Mm-hmm. Maybe they do. Maybe everyone's catching on. So in the course of 2,000 years, let's argue it and just say we only have 60 generations in a bloodline. That means your history is even less prominent than we're told, because there's only been 60 grandmas in your lineage from 2,000 years ago and or the last ascension cycle. Now look at what we're being steered into in relationship to manufacturing, constructing a vessel that doesn't recognize these incredible advances. And that would be it in a nutshell. Is we're still convinced that we need to force things down the road with the head, and that's why some people are millionaires, because they worked hard. They did their job and they went to school, and by gosh, if I could just get my son to be like me, he'd be successful and all that, because mind energy here is very, very efficient. It's very successful. And that's why I'm very, very concerned about all the healers using their mind, because they are having great success, because they are controlling the outcome of your energies here. You're making it happen. I made it happen because I worked hard. That's your living proof that this density requires a lot of, let's say, more energetics in relationship to intrinsics. Very difficult for me to explain. I hope I did carried some weight there. Okay, I guess No noise is not good for an entertainer.
Yeah. So let's go back to when you were referring to the healers. So you're what I was able to try to understand from that is that even as healers, when we do healing, you're saying, or they're saying, the patient is, or the client is inferring that they are not the ones that heal themselves, and that it's the healer, or the healer is feeling that they're the ones that are healing the person, right?
Right. So anything,
Okay.
that's correct. So anything outside yourself, good or bad, is still outside yourself. And that's why I'm an instant skeptic of the healing beds, seen them, understand them comprehensively. They're beautiful, the real ones at least. Yet there's still something outside yourself, and you have all these abilities anyway. Please continue. Forgive me for interrupting.
Okay. No. Okay. So, just understanding that from both perspectives. So obviously the person who needs the healing is there because, they don't have maybe they think that this healing, because this person has all kinds of abilities and reputation, that, I'm going to just go to them, and then never really look at themselves in terms of that they can be the ones that are the healers. Right. And so you look at a healer who has a big office or whatever, and versus even like in today's world, you've got homeopathic people or chiropractors, and, I've got a back that's thrown out. And so I'll just go and see the chiropractor, and he's going to put me back together. A healer, I'm going to go see her because I know that she can heal. And then it's still taking the person, letting the person know that they can't do it themselves. Right. So how do we move those two together so that they both understand that it's a work and collaboration to help each other out, rather than one is more in control and you don't have control?
Yeah, great question. I feel our science community is getting very close. Our dogma of hierarchical medical industry is obviously our clue. The infrastructure that has been created has little or nothing to do with where your energetics originate from. But I feel many of the pathologists have the best opportunity, and or physicists have the best opportunity to explain this to the medical industry and put their foot down and give a damn and make a stand. And that is, where does thought come from? What energizes this glass of water? Explain it to me. I want. I'm going to call it the mind industry. Psychologists. By the way, I get to talk to lots of them, and I want them to tell me where thought comes from, and not one of them can tell me. Not one. And they're all PhDs. Some of them have double PhDs. They're brilliant. Where does thought come from? And they have an unbelievable explanation for you mechanically, intrinsically, but they still can't tell me where thought comes from. Envisionment, dreams, et cetera, and we all know where it comes from, don't we? Because we're source. We can dream and execute our dreams instantly. Great question. Lex, you put time towards
that. All right. So that's the difference. And how do we do well, I think it's in the making anyways. I think that the more of us can really understand the powers that we individually have, then you can collaborate, whether it's a healer or whoever or whatever, because you're doing this together, and it's just it can be very, very magical as far as what the two people or two different areas can really feel and do it even better as the two versus the one.
Right. I just want to remind, my words sometimes come across as heavy, but, essentially we've created our own prison because of the bodies we're in as a as a summary. It's not standardized. It's not absolute, but that's the short version. For me, many individuals outside our realm want me to keep plugging along on this and that. We're creating our universe. We're not in a universe. So if we can start there, things go quite easier. And I would encourage the medical industry to start there as well. There are tremendous amount of lessons learned. I'm finding in these industries as a voice of encouragement. I do have several people who started commanding their spirit, and some of them did some extra credit homework and caught some of these individuals cutting and pasting of time. So I assure you, I have more than I can count of people who command their spirit to keep me in perfect peace before they go to bed and are waking up when abductions are occurring. And so I don't want to talk about the dark. I do not want to talk about the agendas from the dark here, but it's so prevalent. I want to be of help because they're utilizing the timelines of our thoughts to abduct us. So again, we are the universe we are creating. And the more we live from our heart, the less and less of these timelines are going to occur, especially in relationship to healing. And the medical industry is, if we slow down and live from our heart, many of the symptoms we see in our physicality are going to disappear. I don't care if it's weight gain. I don't care if it's arthritis. The more you anneal yourself with your spirit, the more capacity you're going to have to recalibrate and reconfigure each and every day back to source. Again, you're a different human every single day. Every day, you regenerated every cell, arguably some faster, some slower.
Perfect. Thank you.
But I love Jan. She's a great Reiki master. Now what do we do? What do we do, Reiki master?
Oh.
What do we do with you, Reiki master? I love it. Okay, I should ask your permission. I'm sorry. I set you up, didn't I?
Yeah,
right
you
like
did.
that.
You
Just
did.
like
wow.
That. Let's talk about Reiki because it's fun one.
Okay. Well,
go ahead.
Can I just say one thing in regards to a lot of the healing modalities when we're talking about energy medicine or energetics, because one of the key things that we try, and I know Zora does this all the time, is to impress upon people that they are the healers. They can remove negative molecules or whatever out of any drink or whatever, or out of the food. And then it's absolutely perfect for you because you're also at the same time putting in your own love energy into the food or the drink that you have. Right. So even as a Reiki, having done various types of modalities in the past, and it was again the thought, it was the mind, like, well, okay, I think I kind of got it, but I haven't had enough classes, so I'm going to go take another class and then another class after that, et cetera, et cetera. And then of course over a period of time, then you feel like, oh, I think I got it now, and I'm going to open up my own little shop, right? And then you have people that come in and say, oh yeah, this really works, and they say that it has helped them, and so you begin to kind of grow that you are the master of this particular trade, and let's call that healing energy. I think the benefit of understanding that is that people begin at least to understand that they are all energy. And so what one does when you do the healing to help people is that you can hopefully let them know as well that they are healers too. And then to help to give you a boost, let's do this together, because you're the recipient, you're the participant. You can receive the healing because you are also that powerful, right? So moving from that stage of being the Reiki master, I eventually left it. I left it after I started listening to Zora and Billy in regards to, hey, I don't need any of those modalities, and I never did need any of those for the past 20, 30 years, right? So it's a movement in the right direction, but it's still all about the mind still being the one in control of what you're doing, even though you could feel it in your hands and you feel like you're mastering something. But again, it's like, so was that really coming from my heart? And it wasn't from my mind, even though I thought it was coming from my mind.
Yeah, it's really fun conversation for many reasons because, first of all, a lot of Reiki practitioners are having incredible success.
Yep.
And it proves my very words today in that you're obviously can transfer energy.
Yes.
And brilliantly put that you and myself included, I've healed hundreds and hundreds of people over the years. And I of course, always start with educating on what they are, because inevitably, if they don't know what they are, just snap right back and the healing doesn't stick, so to speak.
Correct.
And I just commend you for it takes a lot of bravery to realize that maybe there's more to the story here than just healing people. The people have to want to be healed, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, and it is exactly what I feel needs to get into the medical industry immediately. And I notice several of the hospitals and medical facilities in India do that, and they start off with great care and saying how do we help you? Where are you at in your relationship with you and what you are? I feel that to answer your previous questions, the methodology in which we evaluate our patients has to change with a spiritual evaluation process. So again, my hospital would be called how come you're not healinghospital.com or whatever, and it wouldn't be I can heal you. It'd be how come you haven't healed.com or where did your light go.com. We would have
I love it.
We go, okay, so you fell down and you can't get up. That's right, and I don't know why I want to. And it's okay, there we just healed you. You're depressed. Where did depression come from? It came from the past.
Right.
So I have so many stories about that. You don't understand, Q. My dad's in the hospital with cancer and mom just died. And I'm like, okay. So what are we going to do about it? We are going to sit and spin in circles and pound sand. That's what we're going to do. Because that happened. That really happened. Okay. Okay. Where is the happened? It's gone, isn't it? That's your clue to what's going on here. Everything that's happened is already gone. And that's my greatest gift here, if there is one, is, at least in my envisionment, is what if we only focused on what we prefer? I wonder.
Can I just say one? Yeah. Can I just also add to that? So when everybody has spoken daily, a few times a day, sometimes in regards to the commands that you have sent our way, you have that energy. So even though it's coming from them, that I command, I command my spirit to increase my life force energy. I mean, we know in our hearts that that's coming from you. So we receive it just as we receive it coming from you on a one-to-one, or even when you broadcast it out. So you have that signature, that particular commands that are coming from you, or the higher frequencies. So that's why that also is an excellent tool for everyone to be able to do that all of the time, because they're connecting directly with source, your words. And that's very, very powerful. That's why it works, along with their knowing that's the answer.
Yes, I suppose there is some weight in your words. I do I do mishandle that topic regularly because I consider everybody identical to me. And I recognize more and more that that's not necessarily true at any given moment. And I do recognize that I'm not here 100% of the time like you all are, which I admire and enamored with. All that it, I'll remind everybody that will hear me that you are the reason I have someplace I am at. You created this universe for me to participate with you. You all are masters at creating universes. If we didn't have you, there wouldn't be a universe. It's really simple. You're masters at going out and living in multitudes, collectiveness, or individuality. There is a lot of truth in books like The Law of One. We're all one, now fractalized and experiencing and expressing ourselves. Now, what could be better than being anything and everything you'd ever want to be in your wildest dreams? You can't imagine how powerful you are because you can't imagine. You are everything. Guess what? You are more powerful than your wildest dreams. That's because you are actually your dreams. Gosh, I get tired of myself.
That's beautiful.
We are the dream. Whatever you want to dream, you can actually be it. And that's why I'm so impressed and get lackadaisical with this, what I'm calling linguistical nightmare continuously, is how do you explain all that is, all that will ever be, and the unbelievableness of being in singularity and having the exact same powers. Do you all realize this? I can have a pin diameter of light, a pin, a tiny thread of light, and it will have the same power as if it is as voluminous as your entire planet. You realize how powerful the light is. I only need a fraction of it. I can even put a fraction of it in a human being and it still survives. I can make it a rock. I can make it a piece of sand, a water molecule. Source is unlimited. With great encouragement. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much for that, Q. I was wondering, we only have a few more minutes. I don't think we really spoke, if you will, speak a little bit more on the word and the term ascension in regards to how you would explain it and how you see it in this world. Thank you.
Very good. So I'll take great care to only explain ascension in its relationship with this type of human on this type of plane on this planet, and some of its relationships with individuals who are already at an ascended level, so to speak. So we're going to do about 15 more minutes. Jane, is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the first part I'd like to start with is remove the consonants in your language regarding ascension, ascended, going somewhere, being something, something's going to happen. Again, those are all outside of you. Those terms are all outside of you. There is nothing more than you in a capacity to express yourself at higher or lower levels. So your ascension definitions, as a gross summary here, have been abducted. You feel something's going to happen to you. Now, not to say your universe isn't going to recalibrate, configure, but it's really up to you. So Source, all of us, all that will be, has the ability to recalibrate and reconfigure based on a desire. So it's a built-in desire to be, in this case, something else, somewhere else, somehow else. It doesn't really matter what terms you want to give it. We have this ability that's built into the light that says, hey, erase the chalkboard, let's go a different direction. Okay, so that there's really absolutely no right or wrong in the universe. There is no real laws other than, let's say, synchronicity. in the flow of desire and creation. There's really no laws per se other than the expression of experience, development. Everything is always moving. It's always moving. Time should be, let's say, explained in the swell of an ocean wave. If you look at the ocean, that is my definition of ascension in many cases, because it keeps molding, it keeps changing. The ocean never breaks apart. You can actually prove it on your planet. Everybody says there's a drought somewhere. I go, well, where'd the water go? Okay, so the planet got rid of a bunch of water. The water evaporated into the universe somewhere. Okay, so again, this is for the Bakersfield people. You're not out of water. All right. Anyway, that's my joke for the day for California. By the way, I think I can put a PVC pipe on the Columbia River and get you water in about 5 minutes. Anyway, the ascension definitions we want to erase would be my opinion, to start over and start looking at yourself in relationship to how we make choices. As tiring as it gets, that is how ascension works as a collective. Okay, so now your collective is humongous, really large. Other planets, other solar systems, other inner Earth, under Earth. We can't even begin to count the volumes of individuals who are from source in individuality, recalibrating, reconfigure in this. And you all have a similar, I want to be careful. I want to use the word innate, but that's incomplete too. You have this ability to recalibrate and configure based on everyone else's participation in the universe. It's fabulously exciting. It's an unbelievable time because you all know it's coming, whether you like it or not. Again, everyone's getting the truth, whether they like it or not. You can feel it coming, can't you, Jane? Oh no, she's baking cookies.
No, you're absolutely correct. Thank you.
And that's why I got on the bandwagon this last couple of weeks on, hey, regardless of what's going on outside, you cannot dismiss how unbelievable advanced you're getting. You may not be able to put a label on it. You may not be able to put a what on it, but something's happening now, isn't it, Jane?
Yes.
It's a great opportunity to talk about some of those symptoms. Some of the ascension systems look a lot like this. You get up in the morning, you get ready to go to work, and you go, I don't think I can do it today. I don't care if I make $10,000 a minute. I don't think I can do it today. That's the classic ascension symptom. Everyone quits their job. Okay, so we can see that one, no problem. Another classic ascension system, I'll get to physicality, don't worry, Jane. Another classic ascension symptom is the proactive and reactive and destruction of deja vu. Okay, so deja vu is predominantly engineered by the dark. They're very good at cutting and pasting time. Don't you? So it does. I want to be careful here. I don't endorse any movies and so forth. Just give reference to, but the Matrix, the movie The Matrix, did get that one right, the original. If you are reliving something you've already lived, why would that be? Why would I have deja vu? If I've already lived it once, why would I remember it? And that's them cutting and pasting. Okay, so that's one of the best examples for people. When you don't have deja vu anymore, you don't have the restrictions of the mind as much, because that's how the dark abduct us, is through time pasting. And then a lot of times when they cut and paste time on us, they get it wrong. So they're getting it wrong more and more now, because we're so strong now and living more from our heart innately, not even trying. Just Joe Blow is living more from spirit instead of mind. So here's an example. I have someone I know who was driving down the road, went to go get off the off-ramp, blinked their eyes, and found themselves 5 miles down the road on the opposite side of the freeway. Okay, that is a great example of a being cut and pasted this person's timeline in order to get some stress, some mileage, whatever, money, many reasons why they do it, and was unsuccessful because the being lived too much in the light. So they can't control the development and creativity of that being. So that's a very common symptom right now, is you're catching them cutting and pasting in time, and or the deliverable that you want to have happen happens faster. So as an example, that person was thinking about all the things they wanted to get done that day, and they wanted to get on the freeway and get her done and so forth, and ended up at the end of the story at the beginning of the story. So that's a very common ascension symptom right now, is we are at the end of the story many times, even though, so we're skipping timelines in many cases. That's very classic. The other one that's very common that I'm getting more and more now is the relationship with information with our loved ones. So we're all getting used to talking to people that are on the same frequency as us, and we're actually finishing their sentence. Now, you don't think that's a symptom, but it actually is, because it's comforting. Oh my gosh, I was just thinking the same thing. Well, now that shows you how powerful you are in your creativity. So that can get a little confusing. Gosh, that happens so easily. I was just thinking about picking up some purple yarn, and my best friend Jane just said, hey, do you want any of this yarn? I have some purple. All of that is starting to occur more and more. So that's a symptom, because as an example, I didn't go out to start playing with purple yarn today, but all of a sudden I have this great excitement to play with purple yarn, and Jane happens to have a bucket of it. So that's actually a symptom, because now we're going to make a choice. Do I go to work or I play with my purple yarn? So my suggestion is to just watch those events more and more and how you got there. And that's how synchronicity works. Now, on the physical side, physicality is unique in Ascension because of this type of human doesn't like Ascension, for lack of a better definition. It wants to stay back. It wants to hold us back. It doesn't like to grow and expand. It's engineered that way, by the way. So many of us are having aches and pains because the volume of light that you're using isn't always synonymous with your environment and or the physical being. So anybody that's having a lot of physical issues, as redundant as this is, you got to get lots of high frequency water in you, and a lot of those minor aches and pains are going to go away. And that's a rule for life anyway, as I'm sure you're aware. But that will really help your ascension cycle with water, because the water is just like you in its expansion and growth through the ascension cycle. It's identical to you. That's all you are, as you know, is water. You're on a water planet. So stay one with your planet is my suggestion. More and more, stay with the planet's evolution naturally, because it's going through the exact same thing you are. Is that a good place to end, you think, Jane?
That's so true. Yes, I think that's, oh my gosh, I guess we are almost finished with our call. I think that talking again in regards to our alignment and moving forward, I mean, I think almost everyone knows that our planet already is on a higher frequency than we are, along with all the planets and the trees, etc. And we're still where we are finally catching up. But the question that is still, not all the time, but once in a while, I still think about the past in regards to the people that are really asleep. So can you tell us a little bit about where they're at on our path?
Well, again, much of the ascension symptoms should be very obvious to people. You're not living in the same worlds as the others anymore. Now, are you?
No.
It's hard to find them. You can actually see the separation of your two dimensions, frequency, planet, if you like. I don't care how you want to extrapolate it, sort it.
Right.
You can't live at the lower frequencies, neither can the Bigfoot. So That's
Yes.
exactly, you got it right. And it gets a little tricky because they can still call you on the telephone.
Okay.
Pretty interesting, isn't it?
It is.
All right.
I think we have to thank, yeah.
That's my joke for the day for the IRS. Don't let them call you. Don't let them call
All right. Well, we only have a few more minutes left, and I was wondering if you might like to, if you will, lead us into a command for all of us,
Yes.
individually and collectively. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Q, for all the beautiful words and all of the energies, et cetera, for all of us today. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's do something fun. I'm always doing my best to impress Don one more time. He's so lovely. I don't know how we do this without Don. It's just incredible rock. Just love the BBS guys so much. And so let's close this out correctly. Feel the breeze. Time so near. You can almost taste the freedom. There's a warm wind from the south. Hoist the sail and we'll be gone by morning. This will all seem like a dream. And if I don't return to sing the song, well, maybe just as well. I've seen the news, and there's not much I can do. And I command our spirits, I command with you all, our spirits, prime creation, to remove the dark from our reality forever. I command prime creation to remove the dark from our reality forever. My great love to you all. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now, and so it'll be. My great love to you, Jane. Thank you for your tenure on these shows, and thank you so much for so much you do. I can't wait to do it again. Good day.
Thank you. We love you. Love you eternally. Thank you so much, Q. And bless your heart. We couldn't have done this without you. Thank you so much for being here for all of us as well. All right, everybody. We shall call it a day. So that is the end. Now, I don't know how to do this. Here we go. We just go ahead and delete, and we're done. All right, everyone. Have yourself a wondrous, glorious, and loving day as we feel each other's love for one another. And we are finished. Thank you.